All right, so recording just started. So restore 45. We're going to be doing a lot of hips today. If you have 2 balls, great. If you don't, I will let you know something else you can do. And 2 blocks are something that can help bring the earth up to you. We're going to start on our backs, knees bent, drop them over to one side. Relax to that side body. Relax into the sensation of what feels like it's stretching, whatever feels like it's pulling. No matter how subtle it is, no matter how dramatic it is. Great. Take one more inhale, one more exhale where you are. And then that outer leg, that more top leg, start to lift that up. Slowly lift both knees up and then kind of head to the other side. So your feet can be flat. You can rock to the edge of your foot. You can adjust your feet if once you kind of start dropping over, if it becomes too intense and you just tense all the muscles, we want you to relax. So we're sort of moving the bones and manipulating the tissues, which is the opposite of when we're like moving around typically in a more active class, where we try to have the tissues and the muscles move the bones. But for now, we're just moving the bones and then trying to relax the tissues around them. Again, noticing any side-to-side differences with as little to no judgment as possible. We'll take about 3 more deep breaths here. All right, one more inhale, one more exhale. Again, that top or outer leg, start to lift that first, followed by the bottom one. Walk your feet closer together. Feet flat, knees up. Take 3 breaths. All right, one more inhale. Exhale naturally, and at the bottom of your exhale, when you think you're done, kind of squeeze your navel and your pelvic floor a little bit. Keep breathing, but then keep that engaged as you lift your right thigh into your chest, followed by your left. And then we're just going to start rocking a little bit side to side now from this position. So we've tilted the pelvic bowl backwards. The lower back is hopefully rounded. You could cross the ankles if that feels comfortable. You could just kind of keep the heels dropping in towards the butt. You're going to take this as subtly or dramatically as you want. If you want to rock almost all the way to the side and then immediately start lifting back to center, feel free. If you just want to do it where you have that control and the lower back and pelvic bowl are pretty stable, continue with that. Great. A couple more passes side to side. Or just even out from side to side if you're doing anything sort of where you're pausing a little bit. All right, and then come back to center and drop your feet down nice and slow, maybe one at a time. We're gonna cross that right ankle over the left knee. So really chill figure 4. So if you happen to be super tight and this feels like enough of a stretch, that's something that you're gonna have to answer for yourself this evening. You're gonna stay here. If you'd like it a little bit more active, flex your right foot and draw the outer lateral part of your right knee towards the top right corner of your mat. Next option, relax there, lift your left foot, and then you have the control of drawing the left thigh closer or further from you. And when you do that, you're pulling that inner right thigh closer and further from you. So that's an option, kind of ebbing and flowing here, or just pausing in stillness. And then last option, if your left foot is up, you can play around with rocking a bit to the left and coming back to center. Rocking a bit to the left and coming back to center. So a bunch of options, either stillness or really just subtle flowing of movement, especially if anything feels intense. It's always nice to head in and out of that sensation versus feel like you're white knuckling it. Let's take just a couple more deep breaths. All right, if you've been rocking side to side or forward and backward, come back a little bit more neutral. If your left foot is up, slowly allow it to come down. And we're gonna uncross that right leg, take it up to the sky, point and flex and roll around into your right ankle. Fan out your toes, scrunch them. Try to hit every single possible angle in the ankle. You could even rotate the leg in and out. You could bend and straighten the knee. You could do all of that kind of at the same time. So there's really no right or wrong, no need to look at me or overthink it. Just move around into your right leg, knee, ankle, and toes. Notice if you're tensing at all at the back of the neck and the skull. Try to relax that area. Take 3 more deep breaths. And we're going to come to a place where you sort of have some tension at the back of the hip and the back of the back line on the right side. So as straight as it feels like it's not going to pop, snap, or something on the back of the leg through the knee. And then you're going to flex your foot. So heels pushing up, toes are drawing back. So that's all going to intensify. The more you straighten your knee, the more you push the heel up, draw the toes down. Relax the back of your skull. Hopefully you've already been here for a breath or two. Let your belly inflate like a balloon as you inhale. And deflate everything out. And then do that one more time. Big full breath in. Big full breath out. Relax your foot, bend your knee, take your right foot to the earth. Stillness, or feel free to walk them wide and windshield wiper a little bit. Just notice any side to side. Great, so try to just subtly notice and wake up these tissues a little bit. When you're ready, come back to neutral, walk the feet a bit closer, and then cross that left ankle on the right knee. So I don't want you to rush to what you did on the other side. Asymmetries in the hip are pretty much common with every single body. So super chill, just cross the pinky edge of your foot, your heel, your ankle bone, or your shin bone onto the right thigh. Stay. Flex and draw lateral knee towards top corner of the mat. Relax that and lift the right foot, possibly drawing away and closer, away and closer. If you want to hug in a little bit, you could also rock to the right and then back to neutral. So that's going to hit more lateral outer hip to the right and back to neutral. Great, just 3-4 more deep breaths, whatever you are doing. Again, maybe checking in with the back of the neck, the shoulders, the skull. Try to relax there. They're supporting you. No need to tense those tissues. Great. If you're pulling forward and backward or rocking to the right, come back to a little bit more neutral. Big breath in, and as you exhale, drop that right foot back to the earth if it isn't already. And everybody uncross that left leg and take the left leg up. Again, just sort of organically start moving in, bending and flexing the knee, rolling the ankle, fanning out the toes, scrunching them up. Notice any side-to-side differences here, maybe from injury or posturing or how you sleep. As little judgment as possible, just an open mind here, lots of breath. Okay, just a couple more breaths here in some organic movement. Yeah, and then let's find as much of a straightening of the left knee as you'd like, and as much of a flex to the ankle and foot as you'd like. So toes back towards you, heel up to the sky, pushing away, relaxing through the face, dropping through the back of the head. 2 more deep belly breaths. Let that inflate and deflate. One more time. Inflate, big inhale. Deflate, exhale. Soften that knee, relax your foot, slowly let it come to the earth. Stillness, windshield wiper if you'd like. Straighten out those legs, the length of your mat. Go ahead and squeeze the balls in your hands, lift your arms up a little bit and start rotating through your wrists. If you don't have balls, just make a fist. Okay, we're just going to take one move with these balls here. We're going to be placing them at our sort of upper inner portion of the glutes where they make connection with the sacrum. If you don't have balls, don't worry, I'll talk you through it. So dropping those arms when you're ready, bend one knee, pull that full foot in, followed by the other, coming back to that bridge prep pose that we usually have a base for when we're on our back. So for those of you that have balls, you're going to slide your arms down by your sides. You're going to push through your heels and lift your hips up enough to take the balls and place them where you assume the center of your glute is. Then you're going to go up and in at an angle, a diagonal, about 1 to 2 inches, and then lower on down. If it feels like you're mostly in the center of like a squishy part of your glute and you're not really wedging gently into your sacrum, you could lift and go up a little bit more. We want it to kind of feel like that you are on a bone and then you're dropping off into that squishy part of your butt. So a lot of attachments here. I'm going to sit up and just show you a little bit where I'm referring to. So I started at the center and then I went up and in at a diagonal. I lowered down and I didn't find the sacrum, so I went up again and I'm on that sacrum and I dropped off. So I'm right at that medial border, lateral border of the sacrum, medial border of all those attachments. If you don't have balls, you're just going to walk your feet the width of your mat, drop your knees in, and allow your sacrum to sort of reset in what's called constructive rest. Take your arms wherever it's comfortable. If you liked having them out with your palms up, if that helped with your chest. If you like the feedback of your breath, maybe take your palms down onto your low belly, mid belly, chest, or ribs. But I'm going to talk you through just a little sort of mindful meditation or just sort of maybe a visualization. And then I'm going to stop talking, but you're just going to continue with the same repetition of what I say to yourself as you breathe here for about 2 full minutes. So trying to tap into diaphragmatic breathing, which means allowing the lungs to fill, diaphragm descends, belly naturally inflates. And as you exhale, the belly starts to fall because the diaphragm starts ascending, the lungs deflate. So as you just have this nice natural breath, doesn't matter how deep, if it feels like when you try to pull in a deep breath that makes you anxious, don't do it. Just have a natural rhythm, but try to allow the belly to rise and fall as naturally as possible. You're going to try to relax the features of your face, relax through your jaw and your throat, relax through your chest, relax through your belly. Continue to breathe easily, relax through the features of your face. Relax through your jaw and the neck. Relax through your chest and the center of your belly. Relax through the features of the face. Relax through your jaw and your neck. Relax through your chest and the center of your belly. And just try to continue with that. Trying to stick with that script, coming back. If you've lost your way, we'll take 10 more breaths. Two more breaths wherever you are on that breath count. Full inhales, complete exhale. Great, one more time. And if you're in constructive rest, sit tight. If you have those balls, you're going to notice the center of your heels start to push down in order to lift off the balls, and then lift enough to where you can reach down, grab them, and we're not going to use them anymore, so you can just take them out to the side and peel on down. Yogi's choice. If you were on the balls, walk your feet wide, drop your knees in. If you were already in constructive rest, you can start separating your knees and windshield wipering. Just noticing little side-to-side difference. If you'd like to start moving, if you went right to constructive rest after that balls, if you were on the balls, then feel free to move. But if you feel uncomfortable off the lower back, take that constructive rest. Feet wide, knees drop in towards one another position. Great, arms wherever it's most comfortable. We're going to take sort of a frog on our back, and I'll talk us through it. So knees up to the sky. Instead of walking your feet together and dropping your thighs out to the side, so we call this butterfly, I want our feet separated. It can be awkward from this butterfly position, so don't head to butterfly. Just come to a heels about the center of your glute, and you draw a line straight out. Just drop them out from there. You can wiggle around with your feet and find a more comfortable position if you'd like. If this is way intense in the outer hips because of the compression aspect of that ball and socket, you could throw those blocks on the outer part of your thighs or pillows or whatever you have at home. We're not going to be here very long. We're going to take 10 deep breaths. Come back to that diaphragmatic breathing. Try to notice the back of your skull. Again, try to relax there. No need to be tensing. Notice the space between your eyes. Relax there. Take 2 more breaths. All right, hands down by your thighs. And either one at a time or really, really slow, you're going to start pushing your hands into your thighs to help slowly lift them back up to the sky. You could pause in stillness. Once again, drop those knees in towards one another, or maybe both thighs, just windshield wiper side to side. Give yourself just a moment here. And if you're like, oh, I just need to hug my knees into my chest, that's an option as well. Again, what that does is it pitches the pelvic belt backwards, drawing the lower back to the earth so that you can kind of massage it if that sounds nice. Take a couple more breaths, do whatever it is you are doing, and we're going to make our way to tabletop however it makes sense. You can rock and roll to one side, just kind of lift your head and push yourself there. We are going to be in a tabletop for a little bit, and we are going to need our blocks or props near our hands. So if being on your knees is uncomfortable, I suggest rolling over your mat and taking your knees there. I'm going to do that myself. And then we're going to have blocks or props on either side of your hands. Just spread our fingers nice and wide, and if your wrists tend to be uncomfortable, your forearms tend to be tight, or you're just never weight bearing in your hands, and this is newer to you, spread your fingers wide. Don't worry about taking your shoulders over your wrist. You're going to be much more behind. It's going to be less intense of a degree on your wrist. Otherwise, shoulders somewhat over wrist, or maybe even forward and back, or maybe draw circles if you're looking to get into that area. And depending on your knees, tops of your feet are toes curled. I'm going to walk us through a toes pose, which is the toes curled version. Most people feel more comfortable on the top of their feet, but not everybody, so don't feel like you have to do it if it doesn't feel good. Maybe close your eyes, maybe roll the shoulders, maybe do it asymmetrically, maybe move around into your neck, maybe drop your head entirely and kind of take it out of the equation so that you can concentrate on other things and not stress out places that are already tense throughout the day. You can connect your movements with breath, like inhale in some kind of direction, exhale in another, or just have this open valve on your breath and don't overthink it. There is no right or wrong. All right, let's all come back to somewhat of a neutral tabletop, and this is where I am going to ask you to curl your toes under if they're not already. So for me, just the anatomy of my feet, my pinky toe is floating. So if you're not sure, look back at your own toes. If they are, try to let your heels drop out to the side so that they are making connection, right? They drop out, and now your pinkies are involved. And we're going to try to stretch our feet. So some people just shift their butt back like 1 centimeter, and they're like, oh my God. So if that's you, then you're just going to be in and out of that, right? I like this ebb and flow. Some people like to just shift back and relax with their head. Some people like to be fully weight bearing on it. If it feels like it's too much, it takes your breath away, it's painful, we're just going to avoid that. There's no need. Any sensation is enough sensation. Sometimes if we force things, I kind of use the example of we're poking the bear. We don't really need to force things here. But we're going to take 3 more deep belly breaths. So maybe relax through your face again, relax through your jaw and neck again, relax through your chest and your belly again. Great job. 1 more inhale, stay for your exhale. And then come back to more of a tabletop if you're not already. Uncurl the toes and just gently pat through the tops of your feet. So if it felt better for you for the toes curled, go back to that, otherwise tops of your feet. And we're just going to move around into our hips a little bit. Lift your left thigh up towards you. We're just going to roll circles here. So it's up to you. I'm going to try to take, what I'm going to try to do is visualize this as a joystick. I'm going to take 3 rounds without trying to move anything else other than my thigh. So it's a lot more structured. This is technically more mobility. And then I'm just going to loosey-goosey make it wide, and my hips are going to join in the party. All right. So try to take maybe a few where you're only moving the thigh bone. And then don't overthink the thigh bone and feel free to move around kind of organically. The spine can be involved. Great. And then one more big circle and then slowly draw that left thigh down. We're going to push the earth away with our right hand and flip our left palm upside down. Drop through the crown of your head. And then try to truly drop into the weight of the skull. Let your neck sort of go into traction. And try to relax that front line again. Face, jaw, neck, chest, and belly. 2 more breaths. Right, push to that right hand again. Lift up enough to take the left hand off the mat and shake it. And then let your left hand come back to the earth. We're going to let our hips pop out to the right now. Push to your left hand. Take your right arm, hips, and gaze out to the right. And just start rolling around in your right wrist. Fingers are moving. Add it to your elbow. And then, again, organically, don't overthink it. Maybe some big backstrokes. Maybe you're just painting rainbows with your fingertips. Maybe you're just kind of leaning back into the left because you found an angle that you're like, oh, man. Relax your jaw. Take 3 more breaths. All right, one more inhale. Squeeze your navel to your spine as you exhale, hands and gaze back to the earth. Great, 2 rounds of cat-cow with our breath. So inhale, we open the front body, draw the back body towards one another. Exhale, round the back body forward as you stretch it. Great, inhale into that cow. Exhale to neutral and into cat. Okay, back to that more neutral tabletop. I like it from a little bit closed knee position. I didn't mention that before, apologies. You want to walk your knees closer, but this time that right leg, we're just going to lift it up. We're going to try to make some big circles. Again, maybe try to hug into that midline. Try to not let your hips pop out to the side. Just move through the thigh. This is more accurate mobility in that hip. But then we're just trying to get some movement all around so that maybe you just get loosey-goosey and don't overthink alignment. So the hips open, they rotate, it adds movement into the spine, maybe even into the shoulders. Excuse me. Take a couple more rounds. Great, one more inhale, one more exhale, and take it back to tabletop. When you feel stable, push to the left hand, turn the right palm upside down. Drop the crown of the head. Take the neck into traction. Push that left hand enough to lift the right one, shake it out. Eventually, spread your fingers wide, push your right hand down, let the hips pop out to the left, look to the left, sweep that left arm out. Again, the angle doesn't matter. Move through the fingers, keep moving there, add it to the wrist, keep moving there, add it to the elbow, super awkward, and then add it to that whole shoulder. However that looks, it could be circles, rainbows, maybe you just kind of lean open to the right. All right, let's find some stillness. Take a big breath in and then exhale. Hand and gaze down. 2 rounds of cat-cow. Open the front body to inhale. Open the back body, exhale. All right, we're going to take a pause for a moment and take about 5 to 6 breaths. So options are child's pose, shift back, arms can go forward, stack your palms, drop your forehead. Puppy pose, stay with your hips over your knees, walk your arms forward, drop your chest. Or downward facing dog. Shift forward, curl the toes, lift your knees, push your butt back. Drop your head. Whatever feels like it sounds nice in your body, or you're not sure and you want to try out a couple or give one a try. Again, we're not going to be here very long, maybe 3-4 more breaths. Notice if you're overly tensing or rigid, or if something took your breath away, can just your awareness allow you to soften, maybe breathe deeper. Just breathe in general. Okay, one more inhale, one more exhale. If you're in puppy or down dog, start to make your way back to tabletop. Child's pose, meet us eventually. Right? That's the least invasive to get there. Let's go ahead and find our blocks. We're going to make our way to a low lunge with our left leg forward. So I really like blocks If you need to stand up, if you need to shift, if you want to head to down dog, but left leg's going to head forward. So then that extra cushion under the knee might be helpful. But what we're going to try to do is there's 3 heights to the blocks. So the highest height brings the floor the closest to us, right? So if this is really challenging, we're in deep flexion in this front hip. We're trying to take this back hip into what's called extension. So that means back behind our hip from neutral. So a couple ways to do this. Just start shifting your hips forward, right? So you can kind of play around with this movement. I'm hyperly mobile in my hips, so don't overthink the angle if you're like looking at me and like, I can't do that, right? Anything from a 90-degree angle at this point and hips forward is going to be helpful. Another thing to consider, if you're like, nope, I'm right at 90, we're just going to tuck the tail and release. Tuck the tail and release, because that's going to shift the pelvic bowl and pull those attachments on that front hip flexor also into those quads. So it doesn't really matter the angle. If you want, you can play around with walking the left foot more forward or more out. Some people find that that's beneficial. So there's a couple things to consider, but try to maybe close your eyes or set your gaze out sort of unfocused in front of you so that you can sort of just pay attention to this front right hip and see if you can just give it some more awareness, kindness, breath. If you can, relax through the face, the throat and jaw, the chest, the center of your belly. And take 2-3 more breaths like this, whatever you're doing. So you can be in stillness or maybe you're sort of moving. All right, so we're going to switch the intention. So we're trying to stretch the front right hip flexor. Now we're going to start shifting everything back to stretch the back of the left leg and hip. So if you need to move the blocks, you can, but instead of being shifting forward, we're going to start walking back to straighten as little or as much the left knee as you'd like. Your butt can shimmy out to the right. Your right toes can point out to the left. Mine just naturally kind of do that because of the anatomy. Again, don't think like you have to be in this full split position. You could have your foot flat and just kind of shift forward and backward. A lot of people like to pop to the heel. You can kind of come in and out of this, especially if it feels way too intense, to just stay in it. Again, unfocused gaze out over the tip of your nose, or maybe close your eyes. Remember, highest height of the blocks is going to bring the earth up to you. So if that hip flexion is what's sort of taking you out because of tightness, it totally makes sense. So don't beat yourself up. Okay, relax through the face, the jaw, the neck. Relax the chest, the center of your belly. Let's try to concentrate on full inhales, complete exhales. Try to not clip off that exhale to go right back into the inhale. Great job. One more time. And then try to squeeze your pelvic floor a little bit, navel back a little bit. We're shifting back to that original position. So hitting that front right hip flexor again. Option to stay exactly where you are. Option to rise up to your front thigh with your hands. Option to take that right arm up to the sky. Option to take your gaze over your left shoulder. So what this is doing is we have these fascial lines in our body, and we take our gaze up, our arms up. It can just kind of tweak it a little bit. So no forcing anything here. Again, just that pelvic tilt and having that tailbone tuck and release is just as good. Okay, relax your face, relax your jaw, relax your chest and your belly. Take 2 more inhales, 2 more exhales. One more time, full breath in, complete breath out. And come back to those blocks if you're not already. One more time, start to walk it backward, shift it backward. Blocks at any height, any width. Left foot flat on your heel. Option to shift back and just find a place where you can pause or feel like you can pause. If you'd like to hit a little bit more lateral hip, which can be a really tight part of the hamstring for a lot of people, especially if you're active, you're going to let your hips sink back. Just find that angle in which you can. Knee can still be kind of bent. And then let your butt sway out back and to the right. Your toes are going to pop out to the left just naturally because of anatomy, but don't force them if they don't. So my butt went to the right and my toes popped out to the left. And then you're just going to drop the weight of your head and kind of lean back into the right with those hips. It should feel like it's pulling on the IT band, maybe even all the way to your left knee. All right, if you sway that butt out, back into the right, sway it straight back behind you, shift your toes up, walk it forward, use those blocks, take them to the highest height, curl the right toes, lift the right knee, stand up and step to the top of the mat, however it makes sense in your body. Come up to your thighs, shoulders kind of creep up by your ears, just stand even-footed for a moment. Okay, we're gonna take a big breath in and we're gonna slowly let our hands shift forward and drop into a ragdoll. So you could just drop everything forward. You grab opposite elbow with opposite hand. You could use those blocks. You could stack them and put your head on it if you're that low and it feels like it would be helpful. You could turn your palms upside down if that was really hard to be weight bearing on your hands. Turn your palms and get an extra stretch. Knees can be as bent as you want. That belly can be fully supported on those thighs. If you're like, oh, I have tight hamstrings, I really do want to work them, but it feels like you're just like white knuckling it through those hamstrings by being in more of a straight knee position, think about just lifting the sit bones up as you inhale, and then exhale, find that bend of the knee as you drop them closer to the heels. So it can be really subtle, just lifting an inch or two and letting them fade away. That can be helpful. Just forward fold position. Yeah, you're doing great. Yeah. Nope, she looks perfect. Look like Raggedy Ann, right? Just dropping everything forward. All right, let's take 2 more breaths. Okay, if your knees aren't bent, let's go ahead and invite a bend to our knees. If you have a bind, release it. If your hands or head are on the block, slowly squeeze your belly and pelvic floor enough to lift off the props a little bit. And then you're going to push your heels down and just roll up as slow as you can. Think about pushing your heels down, pushing your heels down. The back line is trying to squeeze together to lift you all the way up. Eventually, your shoulders stack over your hips. When they do, roll them up, back, and away. And then do that with your breath 2 more times. Inhale them up. Exhale them back. Let them drop all the way down. Great. One more time. Great. Rotate your palms forward. Mountain pose. Standing nice and tall, even foot. Front to back, side to side. Try to not sway into one of your hips. Take 2 breaths. Great. Next time you inhale, sweep your arms out and up. Left hand is going to grab right wrist and your right palm's facing forward. We're going to reach up a little bit as we inhale and up into the left as we exhale. And just kind of pause in a crescent moon shape. And then think about letting your hips dip out to the right and then hug them back in. So they dip out to the right and hug them back in. You could have your chin tucked in. You could draw it away. Great. If they're headed out, hug those hips back in. Lift your arms back up to the sky. Take a big breath in once you neutralize your spine. Exhale, arms out and down. Great. Interlace your hands behind your back. You get this nice bent elbow position. Palms face up. That's sort of the easiest possibly, right? Our hands can just be at the lower back, or you can grab opposite elbow. We're going to drop our left ear towards our left shoulder. And we're going to let the bottom jaw drop away from the top. So notice if you're gritting your teeth, just let that bottom jaw drop. Notice if you hike your right shoulder up by your ear, if you can let it kind of just fade away into gravity. Great job. And then slowly draw the crown towards the center of the room, chin towards your chest. And a subtle tucking of your tail down towards your heels. Take a big breath in. Exhale, lift your crown, release your bind back to mountain. Great, roll your shoulders up by your ears. Inhale, back and down, exhale. Inhale your arms out and up. Maybe look up. Exhale, forward fold. Great, we're going to be stepping our left leg back this time to hit the left hip flexor in the back of the right hip. So find your blocks. Again, maybe start at the highest height. Step that left leg back. Dropping down to your left knee. If you had that roll of your mat. And then we're just going to find angles that work for us, right? So it could be shifting those hips forward and backward. It could be just pausing. It could be tucking the tail and releasing, tucking the tail, releasing. If you're in a 90-degree angle, don't beat yourself up, right? Just try to find an angle with the arms. Try to find, there's a heaviness to these hips, like literally the hip bones themselves. So let that carriage just kind of ride forward. And if you tend to be excessively tight, you're going to feel where that's pulling, maybe all the way even into that quad, that fascial lining of the quad, like I feel, because I haven't done yoga in a week. So find what works for you. We're going to take about 4 or 5 more deep breaths. It could just be as subtle as closing your eyes and trying to soften into the shape that you've chosen, or sort of ebbing and flowing through some movements with as kind awareness as possible, no judging. Relax your jaw, your chest, the center of your belly. Take one more full inhale and a full exhale. And then squeeze your pelvic floor up a little bit, navel back and up a little bit, and then start to walk backwards. So the top of your left foot or toes curled. Shift back to straighten as little or as much as you like through the right leg. Right foot can be flat or pop to your right heel. Again, blocks have 3 heights. You could walk wider. You could walk more forward. It could still be about a 90-degree angle, right? Just kind of ebbing and flowing or pausing. Notice if you're just tensing out the back of your neck, feel free to drop away the head entirely. Again, the left toes might pop out to the right for a kickstand. Your butt might sway out to the left a little bit. Don't overthink anatomy or sort of alignment here. Anything with butt back a little bit more than it was is going to be addressing that back line. No matter how subtly, it will be effective, especially over time, patience and consistency. Great, just a couple more breaths. And one more inhale, one more exhale. We'll start to shift everything forward again, nice and slow. Second round, maybe it feels like you got a little bit more room. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it feels tighter. So remember, shift in and out, shift and pause, tuck tail and release. Maybe come out to that front thigh this time. Again, if you came into that front thigh, or even if you didn't, and your right hand wants to stay on the block low, you could consider taking that left arm up and to the right, or up and look to the right. If you're in that more lifted hands on your thighs, or lifting or looking to the right, consider drawing the navel back and lifting it up. And if that sounds weird, just a little bit of a up and in versus squeezing it straight back to your spine. It just helps the torso tone in towards the midline, hopefully relieving a little bit of the effort onto that left knee at the very least. Let's take one more big breath in. Back to the blocks if you're not, as you start to exhale. Great, one more round, shifting it back, hitting the back of the right hip. Again, blocks forward, wide, back, pop to your heel. Stay like this, or shift back into the left with your hips. Toes can point out to the right. Again, and then try to relax your head, tucking chin in. Great, one more deep breath in, full breath out. If your hips are back into left, slowly shift them straight back, toes pop up, walk forward, shift forward, drive your right heel, use the blocks, curl left toes, lift left knee, and kind of hop yourself to the top. Let's go ahead and come up to our thighs one more time. So bend your knees enough, hands to your thighs, shoulders kind of creep up by your ears. Relax your belly. This might even lengthen your torso a little bit, depending on your pelvic bowl. Great, and then we're dropping into ragdoll. So essentially letting the hands shift forward, upper body just drops heavy, knees are as bent or straight as you'd like. Drop everything, grab opposite elbow. Again, use blocks to support your head or your forearms if you'd like a little stretch. Okay, one more inhale, one more exhale. Bend your knees a lot. Push to the center of your heels. Squeeze your pelvic floor and your navel a little bit. Start to lift up off the props and then keep driving those heels. Visualize the back body slowly engaging to pull you up. Slow motion up to neutral. Once your shoulders stack over your hips, roll them up, back and away. Do that 2 more times with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale back and down. Great. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale back and down. Great, rotate your palms forward, even footing in your feet. Take a couple breaths. Great, next inhale, take your arms out and up. Palms face forward, right hand to left wrist this time. Reach up a little bit as you inhale, up into the right as you exhale, or just do the opposite of what you did on the other side. And once you figure out that upper body angle, then allow the hips to sway out to the opposite side, out to the left, and then kind of hug them back in, and then let those hips sway out. Doesn't matter how much. You can tuck your chin or take the gaze sort of out and away. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Great, hug that left hip back in. Lift your arms up to the sky. Once you neutralize your spine, take a big breath in. Exhale, arms out and down. Great, roll the shoulders up, back and away with a breath. And then again, just sort of an easy bind, either hands to the lower back, interlace palms up, elbows bent, opposite elbow. But this time we'll take left ear towards left shoulder. Nope, right ear towards right shoulder. And then allow, again, that bottom jaw to drop away from the top. And then just kind of notice the top of the left shoulder. It likes to hike up. So soften, just like it's giving way to gravity. Great. Start to draw your chin in and roll the crown of the head forward towards the center of the room. Find a subtle tucking of the tail down towards your heels. We'll take one more deep breath in here. Exhale back to mountain. So release your bind, head lifts, rotate your palms forward. Take a couple breaths. All right, we're going to make our way to our backs, and I'm just going to give you a couple options. You can either drop into stillness and any shape for Shavasana, which just means like the end shape that you're just going to relax in, or if you'd like to take like supported bridge, a supine twist, another hip stretch. So if you need to adjust your props in any way, feel free. If you really like supported butterfly and want to come back to it, since we sort of did a modified version with the feet wide, you could have knees bent, legs, feet together, open up those knees and prop the blocks underneath those hips or outer thighs. You could be in constructive rest. You could have your legs straight out, arms by your side. You could hug your knees in and drop them over to one side, arms out to a T for a nice handful of breaths for a little bit longer of a supine twist. Several options, but none are better than the other. If that was a lot of work for you, just allowing yourself this time to slow down, to detach, to show yourself grace, and just simply thank yourself for rolling out your mat and giving it a try. And whether you've dropped right into stillness or moving a little bit more, just make sure that you're even from side to side before you settle in. Make sure you consider your whole being. So from the crown of the head to the fingertips, every part of your torso down to your tips of your toes. Maybe come back to that real simple script of just softening through the face, softening through the jaw and throat, softening through the chest, and softening through the pit of your belly. I really like the visualization of a snow globe for our physical practice. We sort of pick up a snow globe and shake it up. That's what we were doing with the energy. It was all sort of settled. We stirred it up. It was moving in us and through us. And now we're just letting it settle back down. Maybe even letting go of some of it. If it feels like it's no longer serving you, letting it pass right through. When you're ready, take a full breath in and complete breath out. Just doing that a couple more times. Again, it doesn't matter how deep per se the breath is, but just allowing yourself to breathe and notice. Not trying to overcomplicate it. Feel free to add some movement in fingers and toes. If you're in butterfly or any other stretch that feels like you need to adjust your hips, give yourself a physical hand. Maybe you move your thighs together, need a counterbalance. Just continuing to stay on your back for the last minute, or feel free to come to a seat with no rush, but there's no right or wrong. You're perfectly fine as you are where you are. And whether you're on your back or have come to your seats, maybe rolling through that script just a couple more times as you breathe, relaxing your face, relaxing your jaw and your throat, relaxing your chest, relaxing the pit of your belly. Hands to your heart if you'd like, chins towards your chest, honoring your effort, honoring your practice this evening, the good, the bad, the ugly. I thank you. Deep breath in. Namaste. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for coming.